Welcome to Firm, folks. Mark Merrill here. It's Censorship Part 2, Power and Control, they think, on the left. From our first installment of Censorship, back when the so-called COVID pandemic of 2020 was the headline of every biased news outlet from coast to coast here in the United States, the bottom line message, actually a warning and a threat is what it was, to get your vaccines now to prevent further deaths. Except the government warning was not from Donald Trump's administration. It was the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, Anthony Fauci and his staff, and the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and the biggest push from the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, otherwise known as Fauci's Ivory Tower Kingdom, we call it. The bullying and blame immediately took shape of a new and eventually brutal regime, undermining the Trump administration 2016 to 2020 that the mainstream media and even state and local medias used to indoctrinate the American general public into shame and shut up. The government knows better than you do attitude on closing businesses, schools, colleges, and mask up, if you will, and don't go outside unless it's an approved emergency. Good grief. Sounds more like Cuba or the communist Chinese regime. Heard enough from the past, ladies and gentlemen? Well, here's some reality and common sense. We are now back in the year 2024 for a change, if you don't mind. All creation needs to take a look and see where the heck we've been, as noted, and where we are. We deal with reality. Can you tell? Now here we have the most recent threats against freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the ultimate destruction tactics through the mainstream media and social media minions of our justice system at the highest levels. This picture is from a caricature from the Washington Examiner of 2022. Sabotage. It says, the partisan attempt to destroy the court. Notice over here there's a person getting ready to push the plunger, the little black glove. Gee, could that have been Pelosi by any chance that they were hinting at? That's the front cover of one of their magazine monthly distributions. 2 years since, and it's still happening, folks. But you know what? I think it's been going on since the Obama regime, I'm going to call it from now on. He can go screw himself in the ground with his $15 million mansion and his so-called wife, racist that she is. Also coming up here, folks, is Sam Sorbo's book, Words for Warriors, the fight against crazy socialists and the toxic liberal left. Exactly what it says. It's her book. She's quite an author, and it's an alphabetical infomercial book, but not really an infomercial, an information book of what really things are compared to abortion, climate change, global climatization, and many other topics. You should read it, folks. We've got a segment from her information here, folks, and we want to go over that with you right now. Among the other many things we want to show on episode number 2, or I should say part 2, of Censorship, Power and Control. Under the topic of democracy, This is on page 53 of her book. Democracy, she researched and found out, is majority rule without minority rules. Individuals in the minority have no protection or recourse against the unlimited power of the majority. Closely tied to his statement about demagoguery, H.L. Mencken wrote, quote, "The most popular man under a democracy is not the most democratic man, but the most despotic man." You recall, folks, quick history lesson. Despotism is mentioned in the paragraph that I mention every single time I have a chance to recall it from memory. The second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, it talks about despotism and tyranny. I suggest everybody read it. But again, the most popular man under a democracy is not the most democratic, but the most despotic man. The common folk delight in the exactions of such a man. They like him to boss them. Their natural gait is the goose step. Let's try that again. The common folk, meaning the general population, the people of the country, delight in the exactions of such a despotic man. They liken him to boss them. Their natural gait is the goose step. I like to call it sidestep is more like it. In essence, a true democracy is a band of bullies ruling a mob fueled by unthinking passion. As a result, democracy can easily lead to tyranny. The word democracy does not appear in the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution because, folks, the framers knew the meaning and danger of it. The creation of checks and balances, and most important, the Bill of Rights, illustrated their aversion to democracy. That's just one way to put it, folks. And I'll tell you what, it's not a pretty sight. Now, we have one more here, folks. We've already gone over in our first part of this mini-series on censorship. So, you recall that when this story first broke, the Supreme Court of Brazil is ordering a ban of X, formerly known as Twitter, in Brazil amid a feud with Elon Musk not having representatives in the country of Brazil to monitor social media traffic there. Well, that's garbage because Elon Musk is on the record back on August 12th that he was thinking of pulling out to begin with before all of this garbage started coming to light of this biased hate judge. Current story is now, folks, is that he has received notice from this judge in this Supreme Court to cut out and ban X from the country of Brazil within the last 24 hours. I'm sure Elon Musk isn't going to back down. Free speech has been being attacked since the Republican Party was established back in the 1800s. It goes back to before the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Don't believe me? Go look it up. Those of you who worship John Wilkes Booth, who murdered in cold blood sitting president of the United States. Don't sound familiar? While the Civil War was raging on and he was trying to resolve it, to reunite the country. Again, sound familiar? Booth may have succeeded because days later, Mr. Lincoln passed away from his gunshot wounds. But the country moved on and reunited despite Wilkes Booth, who was eventually captured. And I can't recall exactly, folks, but I believe Mr. Booth and some of his accomplices who helped him get away on horseback in the 1860s were hanged or faced a firing squad. Gee, you think maybe we should bring the death penalty back? As to what all of our deflectocrats and our right-wing rhinos have decided, that the republic isn't worth it, so we must kill to get our way? Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth? Et brute? I'll let you decide, ladies and gentlemen. You're the voters. I'm just the messenger. So that's where we stand with that situation right there. But to move on to censorship here, folks, as it's defined in Britannica Online. It's Britannica.com/topic/censorship. We can certainly put that in our notes, and you can certainly research it to back me up. And there's also places for you to comment as well on Britannica.com. Censorship is the changing or the suppression or prohibition of speech or writing that's deemed subversive of the common good. It occurs in all manifestations of authority to some degree, but in modern times it's been of special importance in its relation to government and the rule of law. Again, folks, the Democrats, the deflectocrats as we call them here at Firm, they don't care about the rule of law. They haven't cared about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Civil Rights Act of 1965, anything, nothing that's good in this country. They hate it. They have the mainstream media to do their dirty work. Censors relevant to censorship. The status of individuality. Ooh, you can't be an individual anymore. You must be part of a group, according to the left. Censorship, as a term in English, goes back to the office of censor, established in Rome in 443 BC. The officer who conducted the census regulated the morals of the citizens, counted and classified, but however honorable the origins of its name, censorship itself is today generally regarded as a relic of an unenlightened and more oppressive age. Aww. Is that where feelings and emotions come in again? Yeah. The left-wing minority groups, special rights groups. Yike. The public admission of agnosticism scandalized Protagoras' fellow Greeks. Such statements would no doubt have been received with hostility and probably with social, if not even criminal, sanctions throughout the ancient world. In most places in prospect, or in the modern world rather, in most places in the modern world, on the other hand, such a statement could be made without the prospect of having to endure a pained and painful community response. The change reflects, among other things, a profound shift in opinion as to what is and is not a legitimate concern of government. The quarrel between the ancients and the moderns concerns eventually and perhaps even from the beginning the status of individuality. All this is to say that individualism is made much of in modernity. The status, then, of censorship very much depends on the standing of government itself and its legitimacy. Oi. Garbage, as far as we're concerned. We the people, folks, should be proud to stand with Donald Trump and Elon Musk to secure our borders. Yeah, you better make it plural, all of you left-wingers out there. Our state of Maine has probably been crawling with illegals ever since God knows when. Probably since January of 2021, when Biden started striking down everything Donald Trump and our country stood for as a republic, not a democracy. It's more as like a socialistic cesspool. It's what Biden and Harris have created. And as a wrap-up, folks, as far as the power and control narrative, as mentioned at the beginning of the program, as much as that's been demanded by mostly the left wingnut radical medias, both electronic, TV, radio, and social blasters, from TikTok to YouTube and Instagram, what is this control and power the minorities seek anyway? Any answers? I got one answer for you. None. There is no answer. You so-called experts on life and how to live it have no idea, because God has the only one true power and control over this planet Earth that He created. And He created for man and woman to fill the earth and rule over all creation. Period. End of statement. If you've got questions, go read a Bible from cover to cover. I dare you. Oh, and one last thing, folks. Here's the triggers of violence. Enemies of the state and free speech. A lot of sandblasting needs to be done here. Think about it. Thank you for joining us for Firm. We have over 225 podcasts on Fairness in Reporting Media at rumble.com/users/fairnessmedia1. We're also 5 days a week and sometimes more, depending on the news of the day, through emails and contacts that we have secured over the past 2.5 years on Twitter, YouTube, and email us anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Meantime, folks, everybody stay safe out there. Pray for our country. Pray for even our local legislators and lawmakers. Maybe even our delegates that have gone woke and rather see socialism than have Donald Trump as president. Final tag, folks. Firm is not endorsing Donald Trump. Firm is not endorsing any other alternate presidential candidate. That is false news if ever you hear it. We are reporting the news, the facts, the reality, and the common sense, as we always have from day one, back in 2018 when we founded the organization. Also pray for our ally Israel. There may be peace negotiations, but we do not make deals. Nobody makes deals with terrorists. Keep praying anyway. And peace to all.